We are so grateful to those who are willing to share their memories and their tributes today. It takes immense courage, so please know how much we appreciate you. Our tributes this afternoon begin with Ryan's precious niece, Alex, Rick's daughter.
Hello everyone, my name is Alexandra Ellingson and I'm Ryan's niece. I just want to thank all of you that are here today, and especially those who have traveled long distances to help remember and celebrate the legacy of Sergeant Ryan Ellingson. Thank you also to those in attendance online. Your love and support is felt from afar, and we appreciate all of you being here with us today in spirit. I am deeply saddened and in disbelief that we are here for this reason today. I'm sure you all are as well. It was without warning or reason, less than 1 week ago today, that Ryan was taken from us all too soon. In the 55 years Ryan was alive, he accomplished a lot and touched the lives of many people, and it is with great honor that I share the following. Ryan was born in Moose Jaw on November 25th, 1964, to parents Mervyn and Irene Ellingson. His father worked as a police officer for the city of Moose Jaw, and mother a nurse at the Moose Jaw Union Hospital. Ryan was the second of two boys, younger brother to Rick. Ryan and his brother grew up near and attended Prince Arthur Elementary School in Moose Jaw's East End. In many ways, him and his older brother had an idyllic childhood. Given the unofficial role of crash test dummies by his older brother, Ryan was shown early the fun one can have launching themselves off shoddily built bike ramps. He was part of a generation of kids whose curfew was whenever the sun would set, and exploring the bicycle hills with friends, catching frogs and crayfish, and swimming at the Nat were common occurrences growing up in East End. From elementary, he graduated on to Albert E. Peacock High, where he completed grade 9s through 12. Ryan was a popular guy throughout high school and made friends easily. I've heard him described by the girls who knew him then as one of the best-looking guys in the school. In high school, he also began working at Safeway, which helped him to pay for one of his first loves, owning and driving cool cars. This love of classic cars and trucks stuck with him right to the end, and is a bond and interest he got to share with his son Matthew. Right out of high school, Ryan went on to attend university at University of Saskatchewan in Saskatoon in 1982, completing a 4-year bachelor's degree in psychology. Upon completion, he decided to go into policing and joined the Peel Regional Police in Mississauga, Ontario, immediately out of post-secondary. During Ryan's 15-plus years with the Peel Regional Police, he achieved the rank of acting sergeant, having also spent 8 years working for the break-and-enter unit. It was during Ryan's visits back home to Moose Jaw for Christmas, or during family summer vacations to visit him out east, that I got to see him and spend time. And every time he became the doting uncle. Whether it was helping me put together a toy I got for Christmas, or taking me for a cruise around Mississauga in his Jeep with the top down, I thought my uncle was the coolest. He was the one who would take me on all the scary rides at Canada's Wonderland, the ones no one else had the stuff Patsy by his parents. And to their delight, the two developed an interest in one another and began dating. A year later, in 1999, Patsy made the move to Mississauga to be with Ryan and began a career of her own with Peel Regional Police. By 2001, Ryan and Patsy were married, and in 2002, their first child together, Matthew, was born in Mississauga. 2 years later, in 2004, Matthew became the big brother to his sister Sydney. It was around this time that Ryan and Patsy made the move back to Saskatchewan with the kids, preferring to raise kids back in their hometown. Once back in Saskatchewan, Ryan began working for the Regina Police Service, starting as a constable on patrol in 2005, and as of 2020 held the rank of staff sergeant. Somehow, he also found the time and enjoyed instructing colleagues at the police college, and worked in critical incident stress management while with the force. In the words of those he worked with, he was a big influence, a true leader, a teacher and mentor, irreplaceable, humble, positive, dependable, and so approachable. And all those descriptors ring true for me too. I also got the benefit from his mentorship, positive attitude, and humble advice while I was an officer in training who went on to become a full-time Alberta Fish and Wildlife Officer. Any questions I had, he was happy to answer, sharing with me the full scope of his expertise and experience. I would like to add to that list a few more descriptors. He was strong, stoic, like a rock, and kind-hearted. With his passing, a generation of Ellingson men, irreplaceable and gone too soon. The world becomes a little bit darker having lost someone with such a wealth of knowledge and life experience. His informed perspective, realness and candor, and quick wit were a rare combination not found in many. Uncle Ryan, you are eternally loved, will be constantly missed, and forever in our hearts. When the sun is shining on me, I'll be thinking of you. And I know you're with your parents and brother now. May they keep you safe until we meet again.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Alex. Absolutely beautiful and courageous. Our next tribute comes from Patty's sister, Catherine Woolner, who lives in BC and couldn't attend, and it'll be read by Patsy's sister, Nancy.
Unfortunately, Kathy couldn't be here today, but she asked me to read this for her. I'm Catherine Woolner, proud aunt of Matthew and Sydney, and best-looking sister-in-law to Ryan. My first memory of Ryan was in a home he and Patsy shared in Mississauga, where they were both members of the Peel Regional Police. I'm not sure that he fully realized at that point that Patsy came with a large, very large family. A family that welcomed him with open arms and hearts. I think that took a bit of getting used to for him. I trust he knew that he was a loved part of the Woolner clan. I don't really recall him being very huggy at first, but he was adaptable. His arms were out whenever we converged on their home or he arrived at our family reunions. He and my husband, Mark, would take up their positions at the barbecue, beer in hand. They claimed the beer was for putting out a flare-up in case it happened. At our last reunion, several of us went golfing. Matt was driving the maintenance cart with his clubs banging around in the back and almost flinging his cousin off the side as he determined how well that cart could corner. Ryan, he had to leave the relative sanity of being with the adults to join and supervise his enthusiastic son. All with a big smile on his face, he loved his family and being part of ours. Over the past 2 years, Ryan was my chauffeur between Regina and Moose Jaw on several occasions, mostly in the winter. Whenever I asked for the old blue truck shuffle, the answer was, "What time do you arrive? And what time do you need me to be there?" For a man of few words, we never ran out of things to say for that 45-minute drive. It was always something and nothing that kept the conversation going. My mom has often commented on her enjoyment of time spent in the kitchen with Ryan, just talking. On one of my trips here, I got to watch Sid play hockey. Her dad was one of the coaches who saw the team beat the only unbeaten girls team in the province. If you find your hockey bag a little bit heavy, Sida, it's because there was and is and always will be a lot of his pride packed in that bag. A family is not just an accident of birth. It is looking into a face or hearing a voice and knowing that you belong to something bigger than yourself. It is knowing that we celebrate joy together, support one another when times are tough, and when we love our way through sorrow and grief. I trust Ryan knows that the two most important people in his life, Matthew and Sid, will be supported and loved by this, our very big family. I just want to thank you on behalf of the family for coming. True Saskatchewan day with this wind. And I was just thinking on the way over, Mom and I were talking, and one of the things I'll remember most about Ryan is we'd always have big family gatherings, and as soon as the meal was over, he was the first one at the sink, and he was directing everybody to go where to put the dishes, what to put where, and who to get the towel, and who to clean up, and I'm gonna miss that because I was a little bit lazier, and it was awesome that he took up the post of cleaning everything up and getting us all organized. So we'll definitely miss Ryan, and yeah, we loved him very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Nancy, and thank you to Kathy. Our next tribute comes from a very good friend, John By. Ryan was blessed by special friends, and John was one of those. He was here this morning helping us prepare as well.
Look at the size of that print. Thank you everyone for being here in this uncertain time, and certainly at this heartbreaking moment. Ryan, the show, and I met 12 years old playing Elks Minor football for the East End Alouettes. Little did I know that he would end up being one of my best friends and lead me to a group of unbelievable, very good friends you see all around us here today. From the football parties after Riverview would whoop Peacock, to the broomball and hockey tournaments in Mississauga, and the great fishing derbies with his close friends in the RPS. Gone are the days of showing up at Safeway, hungover and still tore up from crabgrass tournaments. We all knew what a dedicated, driven, and genuine person Ryan was and would be. We especially admired his chosen profession, but we did not realize the actual level to which he arose and achieved, and was respected with his fellow officers until now. You don't get to sergeant without being calm under pressure, and we are grateful you got to experience what drew all of us to him. Thank you for being here in full force today and honoring his memory. Through all those great times, and reliving those unbelievable stories with him, nothing compared to the way he absolutely beamed when he caught us up on Matthew and Sydney, their school, their sports, tournaments, holiday adventures, and accolades. The sincere joy in his eyes will be what I remember forever. I hope that we, his friends, will be able to fill the gaping holes in your hearts, and know that you have the support of all of us unconditionally. We love you tons, and we will never forget you, Ryan, my dear friend. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, John. It's hard to believe that a fellow who was as mischievous as Ryan was when he was a young lad would one day become a police officer. Oh, the antics he got into. Slipping into the elevator room in the Walter Scott building and riding it in crazy ways I'm not even going to repeat because it's not appropriate. To jumping off the high board at the Nat in full hockey equipment. But mischievous he was until he felt the call to police work after graduating from U of S. His dad, Merv, as his role model. He forever revered his dad's service career and treasured Merv's service medals and took great pride in surpassing his dad's years of service. Today we're honored to have Chief Bray from Regina Police Service to pay tribute to Sergeant Ryan Ellingson.
Good afternoon, Patsy, Matthew, and Sydney. Our deepest condolences to you from the Regina Police Service family. Make no mistake about it, the Regina Police Service family is well represented here today. For those of you that haven't turned around and take a look, we had to make a call to the Saskatchewan Health Authority to understand what the rules were. We didn't need Moose Jaw Police writing Regina Police a ticket for breaking the rules, so we've got the regulations down. A lot of our officers unable to actually be in and part of this, but with social distancing, we're glad to have a lot of our officers here from all different parts of the police service. We've got retired police officers here. We've got representatives from the communication center here. Our media section has put together the live web screen that is going to be running, and even people back home right now are able to watch, and people across Canada are able to tune in, and we will have that available as well in video format for people to watch. This is a very sad day, but I'm going to take it as an honor to stand here and talk to you for just a couple of minutes about Ryan. Ryan joined our police service in February of 2005, and it's not often that we hire people that have been police officers somewhere else. Most times we hire a rookie and they start with us and they go through college. So whenever we hire a police officer who's coming from somewhere else, there's a little more scrutiny that goes into it. And when we first saw Ryan, we thought, well, he looks kind of old and he kind of walks a little bit goofy. And he was very quiet and very unassuming, and really didn't assert himself off the start in any way other than to just come to work and to do his job. But what happened very quickly was we realized that 16 years of policing in Peel really was coming to light. Ryan's ability as a police officer was incredible. Ryan was an incredible police officer, and as I talk, Matthew and Sydney, I hope I can give you a bit of a sense of what we saw of your dad every day he came to work. Because Ryan hit the ground running with us. There was no easing into the job with the Regina Police Service. He was immediately a part of the team. And someone who comes from another police service and has spent 16 years of policing, you would almost expect them to be saying, well, that's not how we did it in Ontario, or I would do that a little bit different. Ryan never did that. Ryan never did that. Ryan came to work and did it the way we do it in Regina, and quietly from time to time might offer a suggestion of how it perhaps could be done different and maybe improve upon the process. But Ryan, no matter when he was at work, would always roll up his sleeves. No task was too small. And this was evident right through and including when he was a sergeant and a supervisor on the street. I was talking with our officers that are involved in the Honor Guard and the pallbearers, and we were talking about just the last night shift that Ryan worked, where he was pulling a screen off of a door and jumping a fence and out with the dog man chasing a person who was fleeing being arrested. And again, as a sergeant, Ryan was not shy to do that. In fact, I'm hearing about pursuits Ryan was in that we as executive very seldom heard about, but when you start talking with frontline members, that stuff comes out, and there's some smiles I'm seeing over there. We're going to hear from Constable Brad Young in a second, and as one of the peers that worked with Ryan, he'll be able to tell you a little bit more about some of that street level activity that Ryan was involved in. Ryan was seconded into major crimes very early in his career with the Regina Police Service. That also doesn't just happen. This major crime file was an important one, and Ryan's expertise on that file really went a long way to not only solving that critical case, but helping that team in there as well. Again, his quiet but confident and capable demeanor was second to none. I remember one day Ryan sent me a message when I was president of our police association saying, you know, Evan, I think it would be good if we had more silent partners. Silent partners are that hard protective screen that's in the police car between the front and back seat. At that time, not all of our police cars had them. And he talked about the importance of silent partners, especially if resources are a little bit low. And at times we struggle, like many police services, with having enough resources on the street. And silent partners was something that, although was not prevalent throughout the entire police service, we had a few. And within a short time, Ryan had put together quietly a proposal that he didn't want credit for, but wanted us to take a look at as an association. We took forward to the chief of police at the time, and we now have silent partners in different configurations in our vehicles, largely in part to the work that Ryan had done, but I would guarantee you very few people know it, because Ryan wasn't doing it in a flashy way. He was doing it in the best interest of the members. In his career with our police service, Ryan worked in patrol, in street crimes, major crimes, the investigative response unit, down in detention, and was a very important member on our critical incident stress management team. And when we got that phone call on Wednesday that we had lost Ryan, there was immediately work put together to offer our staff and our colleagues critical incident stress debriefing. And Staff Sergeant Laurel Marshall talked to every one of our frontline teams about the importance of sitting in one of those types of debriefing sessions and how much Ryan put into that team over the years. In fact, she talked about the fact that Ryan would want you to go and participate in one of these sessions. And we had officers attend and participate that had never attended and participated before, and talk after the fact about how important it was, what a great service that is, and something that they will continue to not only participate in going forward, but really advocate for other members to go. And I can't help but think that it's sad, tragic, and appropriate that it was Ryan that got all of our staff participating in these stress management debriefings. No matter where Ryan worked, he was the go-to guy. For those of you that are from Saskatchewan and from this area, you might know we had a bit of a co-op uniform strike situation here over the last little while. Well, Ryan worked in the north region of our city, and so as a result, he was one of the officers that was tasked with monitoring and being the liaison in that situation. There was a lot of emotion involved in that labor dispute, and yet Ryan, being the type of officer that he was and the person that he was able to have a real calm and capable demeanor when he would be out talking with people from the upgrader or people from the union side of things. And we often saw in his emails the ability that he had to go out in the middle of the night, deal with a real stressful situation, but keep it very calm, and we were very, very appreciative of that. As I think about Ryan and we talk about the calls that he goes to, I can remember being on the street working on the same shift as Ryan. I was a sergeant at the time, and Ryan would come to the call, we'd be busy, he'd roll up his sleeves, he'd do what he needed to do, and then it was always quickly saying, all right, see you at the next one, because there always was a next one. There always is another call. And when I talk with officers that have worked with Ryan and have been trained by Ryan, they all said the same thing. See you at the next one. What Ryan would always say. Ryan, I think, might have the record for training the most officers in the history of the Regina Police Service. Training a young officer is not an easy thing to do, and if you do it 2 or 3 times in a row, often you're fatigued by that work. It's important work, but it's very tiring. Ryan never tired of that. And as a result, a lot of these officers that are here today have incredible skill sets built on a foundation from Ryan Ellingson. Common sense, compassionate, fair, firm, understanding, and a problem solver. Extremely capable, loyal, partner, trainer, leader, NCO, and friend. See you at the next one, buddy.
Thank you so much, Chief Brady. Ryan's colleagues were family. In fact, Shift 1 said he was practically a dad to them. He was described as a dude cut from quality stock, a great man. Let's listen to some stories from Regina Police Service, Constable Brad Young.
Good afternoon. Patsy, Sydney, Matthew. On behalf of myself, on behalf of my family, and more importantly on behalf of the Regina Police Service, let me express our deepest condolences on your loss. My name is Constable Brad Young. I'm incredibly humbled and honored to have been asked to stand up here and share some thoughts. There's been so many people who have sent their thoughts more than their stories about Ryan in the last couple days since we found out I was doing this. I'm just the one that's fortunate enough to be able to stand here and relay them to you. And it's a lot of stuff has already been said, but it's going to be restated simply because it is so true as to what kind of a man he was. I was fortunate enough to work alongside Ryan for pretty much my entire 13 years, either on the same shift or on a shift that touched his shift. I worked with him, and there was a brief stint that I worked for him, and he was my backup training officer. So I spent an awful lot of time with him, but even I can't say that I knew him as well as a lot of people that shared some things. So I was asked to say a few words, which is incredibly hard for two reasons. One, I never say just a few words. It's always a lot of words. And number two, it's Ryan Ellingson we're talking about, and a few words is never enough. Alexander, you hit on so many of the ones that other officers shared with me. Dependable, hardworking, knowledgeable, honest, approachable, a true leader, humble, positive, a mentor, and irreplaceable. So those are pretty great words that came from, honestly, probably about 30 different people that were all sort of the same words, maybe different ways of saying them. I think one group of thoughts that I got from Constable Jess Sabo probably sum things up better than I certainly could. So these are Constable Jess Sabo's words about Ryan. He was an incredible leader, but it was in such a subtle way that sometimes you didn't even know you were being led. You didn't know he was teaching you until you realized afterwards that what he was doing was making you better. He led by example in so many ways. For a man that was a police officer for over half of his life, he was the most positive, patient, and devoted member that I've ever known. Jess said she would see him cruising to work in his old blue truck on the highway, cruising in on his way in just happy as could be. Then she'd see him working a night shift, cruising around the city in his PC, stirring up work, looking for things to do, having fun, and just getting into it, not hiding, not avoiding, just rolling up his sleeves and working. Then she'd see him at the end of the shift in his old blue truck driving home, happy as could be because he was going home to his family when he made it home. There really aren't enough words to describe all things Ryan was. You just know that he changed you. By knowing him, and through having the honor of working with him and observing how he treated people, his co-workers, the public, and his family, you just became a better person. He never told you how to be. He never told you how to do it. He led by example. He never bragged about himself or his accomplishments or what he knew. And he never said a bad word about anyone. He thrived on teamwork and success. He was either at the very front of the line leading the charge or somewhere in the mix trying to get there to help out. He did it with pride and with a huge smile on his face. He knew he always had your back, and if Ryan was at a call, everything was going to be okay. The hole that Ryan leaves at RPS is huge, and it may never be filled, and if it is, it will take many of us to fill that spot. He was so much to so many. His life was cut far too short, but in this time he affected more lives than most people will in their entire lifetime, maybe 2 lifetimes. It's a very rare thing now, and it's been passed on to all of us who knew him, who worked with him, worked alongside him, and saw what it was about. We need to follow his example. I think Jess touched on almost every one of those attributes that I mentioned earlier. A few more people said things like, for all the knowledge, skills, and experience Ryan had, he was humble and a quiet leader. For many of us who were fortunate to work with him, a true leader, a fantastic cop, and an amazing mentor. You'd be hard-pressed to find a better cop, mentor, and more importantly, a better friend. Neil Beidel told me that at the fishing tournament every year, Ryan was always the first one at the dock, 8 a.m., ready to go, get out, get fishing. By 11 o'clock, he was 5 beers in and proud that he was pacing himself so well. And he knew he was 5 beers in because he always kept the bottle caps in his pocket, so he'd always know how many he'd had. It was important to him. He was honest. He didn't want to lie about it. He told us a story, and I remember hearing the story as well, but Neil wanted to share the story of when, in 1993, long before he was with RPS and he was with Peel, how him and some of his partners found their way into the Sky Dome for the 1993 World Series. They may have flashed their badges to get in, they may not have. But they were there when Joe Carter hit the game-winning home run for the World Series. They partied that night somewhere at someone's house, were late for work the next day, had to call a special constable to get them radio so they could hit the street, and he worked what Ryan referred to as the longest day ever. Kyle McFetrich was Ryan's sergeant, and mine as well when Ryan got promoted to corporal. And Kyle said he always felt awkward having Ryan as his corporal, as he had so much more knowledge than Kyle did as a sergeant that he felt the roles should be reversed. He honestly felt that Ryan should be the sergeant, he should be the corporal, because Ryan's knowledge base was just that vast. So when a sergeant has that much respect for a corporal, that means something. Kyle also spoke about Ryan's drive, how hard he worked, how he never seemed to get tired, and it's probably because every morning he ate steak and eggs for breakfast to get him through the day, because you don't know when your next break's going to be. And he couldn't get over how at his age he could still go so hard and so driven to work. And Kyle laughed that he was so much older than him, but there's no way Kyle could have ever kept up. So those are just a few thoughts from a few people. As for me personally, I'll remember Ryan for everything that's been said, but more importantly for the following line that I will never ever forget. You're doing pretty good, but you really just need to get punched in the face. So Ryan was my backup trainer when I started at RPS, and I remember when I started, Chris Jacku was my trainer, Ryan was my backup, and I remember being told by people, you hit the jackpot with trainers, because those are by far 2 of the best. Once I got into it, I realized, yeah, they were right. It was pretty amazing. I had 2 amazing trainers. Ryan had just come out of Jax had just come out of CID, and he showed me things that I to this day remember. He taught me a lot. He built up my confidence. He was a fantastic trainer. He made me feel like I could do anything. And when he was on a day off or on a shift or a block off, I'd get turned over to Ryan, and he'd bring me right back down to earth. And that's not to say that Ryan was a bad trainer. Ryan was incredibly fair. He was fantastic, and he would push you so hard and make you better every single day. He expected a lot out of his recruits, and generally he got it. He got the best out of everybody just by leading by example. He didn't do it by being harsh. He never belittled you. He never ever made you feel like you were stupid if you didn't have the right answer. He just did it leading by example. He showed you how a cop should talk to people. He showed you how a cop should just do everything that they do, whether that's driving. You drive. I remember him telling me you drive like the chief's wife is driving beside you and you don't know it. You never know who's watching. He was always diligent about those things. He displayed positive attributes and behavior, and he worked his ass off. And because you were his recruit, by extension, you worked your ass off too. But you never even really knew it. I remember being told in training that you'll never be as busy as you are when you're a recruit. And that may not be 100% accurate, because we've had some pretty crazy days lately, but for the most part that's true, especially if Ryan is your trainer. He had a work ethic better than guys half his age. He was generally the first one out of the police station in the morning, into his car, logged on, taking calls, because that was what you were there for. And he modeled that to the entire shift, not just his recruits. The one thing that Ryan made very clear, though, was breaks are equally as important. Not because, like some people, they want to get away from the street for 40 minutes and hide from calls. It was because that was a time when you fuel up, you recharge your batteries, you joke around with your co-workers, and it's just a very important time. So Ryan was such an inspiration to us, who we were fortunate beyond belief to have him as a trainer. He would never ever say, "I told you so." He would give you the tools to go out and do your call, and if you didn't do it the way he said, that was fine. And when it didn't work, because it generally didn't, he wouldn't make you feel bad about it. He would just help you to move on to the next call and succeed the next time. When you think you're doing really, really good, and you're driving around, you're talking about your progress, and he says you're doing really well, you just need to get punched in the face. And you think to yourself, what the hell I thought we were getting along, I thought we were friends, and that really, it hits you hard. And then you realize what he meant by that was, there's things he can teach you, and there's things he can't. And he can teach you how to investigate calls. He can teach you how to be a police officer. He can teach you how to write reports. He never taught me how to write tickets, and Chief, if that's why I don't write tickets, it's Ryan's fault. But what he can't teach you are those unexpected things. He can just explain to you that you don't get complacent in this job, that's when bad things happen. And when you're getting complacent, some guy sucker punches you, and once it happens once, it'll never happen again. And I've been punched in the face, but not sucker punch, but it took me a long time to get over that. I honestly believed that Ryan didn't like me for the longest time until I talked to about 3 other recruits that said he told them the same thing. Now, 2 of them I'm not sure. I think maybe he wanted them to get punched in the face, but the other one I know he really liked, so I'm pretty sure that was all it was. He just wanted to make us better, make us not complacent, and to just be the best cops that we could be. Ryan was a couple years older than me, but you would never know it. I remember when I first met him, I looked much like the chief said. Didn't look like much, but man, that guy had a motor, and he had one pace, and it was quick. Start of the day to the end of the day, it was quick. There was just no stop in him. That's the kind of cop that he was. He was a wealth of knowledge. He loved to share his knowledge with you, but he never forced it upon you. If you asked him, he would always help you out, and he would take as long as you needed to figure out, which I think sometimes was tough for him because he knew the answers, he knew what to do, and sometimes we're kind of dumb. But he would always be patient. And whether it was something as simple as how to take a statement from somebody or how to prepare for court or the really important things, he would take his time and share them. He was amazing that way. He was a true professional, a true leader, not just as a trainer, but an example to the entire shift in the department. I can sincerely say Ryan never got into the bad habit of talking crap about people, talking about people behind their back. You could always tell if the subject got that direction at coffee, Ryan would just slowly steer it into a whole different conversation, and before you knew it, the subject was changed. And he did it with such a tact that you didn't even realize that it happened. He was serious, but he did have a sense of humor, and it was a very subtle, very dry, and I know you guys all know what I'm talking about. It was often unexpected. I remember being at a call with him and Melinda Laloche, and it was a robbery out at a McDonald's out east. And we got called, and we heard on the way there that the people had left, so we met in the parking lot. And Mel and I looked for Ryan right off the bat to get our direction, because it's Ryan, that's what you do. You just wait to follow his lead. Ryan got us all together in the middle of the parking lot. He said, okay, before we go any further, here's what I need to know. Do you guys like my new sunglasses? And you didn't know whether you were supposed to laugh, because Ryan's delivery was so dry, and it was so often so subtle that it was kind of almost easy to miss if you weren't careful. But he had a few catchphrases. I haven't already alluded to one. We'll see at the next one. He loved to go for his breaks, and if he saw something that should have been a ticket on the way there, his line would always be, well, it's a lucky thing for them that I'm hungry because they're not getting a ticket today. And the one that I'll always remember is, as hard as Ryan worked, he hated to be late. He liked to get out on time. And he had a statement that if you're not out about 5 minutes before the end of your shift, you're late for getting out early. And I heard that more times than enough. Ryan was 100% a good cop. He was doing the job he was born to do, and he loved it. He trained recruits for so long, not for that little bit of extra pay, but because he truly loved it. He loved policing so much, and he wanted to pass that on to the next generation. And training was a way that he knew he could do it. I think Ryan could have been damn near anything in the world that he wanted to be, and he would have been very good at it. But Ryan was a cop, and he was great at it. It wasn't just work that he did with passion. He would talk about his kids, and he would always have a smile on his face and pride in his voice and his stories. He loved to talk about the kids. He spent tons of time with them, coaching, driving them to various events. Unlike some dads who would complain to co-workers about the busy lifestyle, he seemed to embrace it. He coached a lot. I did hear he was quite a good coach, enjoyed it. Didn't always enjoy some of the things that went along with it. I heard a story that he coached a team once that the coaches didn't high-five each other or shake hands. The coaches liked to slap each other in the butt when they celebrated. And Ryan didn't really like that, and the other coaches took a lot of pleasure in watching as they would do that, and Ryan would sort of squirm to find a wall to stick his ass up against because he just didn't want any other guy touching that. I heard them say that if they didn't know Ryan was a cop, they wouldn't ever think of him as a cop. When he left work there, and he was a dad, he was a parent, he was a coach, and he just enjoyed his life and lived his life. And that's something that we all could learn from as police officers. To you, his family, as cops, our families who love us are forced to share us with a world who doesn't even really like us. We leave you all on birthdays, Christmases, anniversaries. We miss out on a lot of important life events. We go out and do a job that very few people understand, much less appreciate. And we ask you, our families, to understand this and accept it, because we're called to do it. The public doesn't thank our families for sharing. With them, that's something we just all kind of accept. So Patsy, Matt, Sydney, I do want to say a few words. 2 words actually, and that's thank you. On behalf of the Regina Police Service, thank you for sharing Ryan with us. We're stronger and a better police service because of the hours that we all spent with Ryan. I truly hope you're able to take some comfort in knowing that when he left you, his family, to go to work, it was way more than that. He was leaving you, his family, to come to us, his second family. He was coming to teach us and to inspire us and to protect us. And although the public may not appreciate the sacrifice that you as a family have made by having to share Ryan with us, I'm here today to say, on behalf of myself and every other colleague here and those that aren't, thank you. Thank you for sharing Ryan with us. He's going to be missed by all of us, every single person here, every single person that isn't here that knew him. We will all miss him. But I know that if we let Ryan, he'll continue to lead us with the life that he led and the man that he was, and he'll always be remembered as an amazing, amazing man. Unfortunately, Ryan, you were able to get out early, way too early. And as Chief Bray said, we'll see you at the next one.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Constable. Our remember whens could go on all day, and I hope on some level that they do. They serve to connect you to Ryan and all that he was and is to you. Ryan himself did just that as he processed the passing of each of his beloved family members. His nursing mom, his police officer dad, and his politically minded brother Rick. He delved into his memories and those items that left him connected to them as a way of bringing them into the present with him. He fondly remembered Merv coaching he and Rick's ball teams and taking them fishing. He remembered how Dad, always the practical joker, would handcuff someone at the family occasion, and Dad teaching them the value of a good chev. Ryan treasured his dad's truck, and many of you can picture him driving that old truck with no heat, no radio, to work every day instead of his own Audi. And of course, Ryan was ever honoring of his dad's career, and these were all his ways of staying connected to Dad. He honored his mom's memory through his compassion and his unflagging spirit, qualities that were at the heart of her spirit. And he honored his connection to Rick through things like the telescope that he bought, inspired by Rick's love for astronomy, and his memories of baseball and collecting rocks and polishing them. Though they held very different interests, they shared the forever bond of brotherhood. Ryan was forever vigilant in his remembering and in his honoring of his family's memories. And he carried their legacies into his life as rocket boosters for his own parenting and career and friendships. Forever vigilant is the motto of the Regina Police Service, and Ryan carried that motto proudly, not only as a police officer, but as a dad and as a friend. He took such pride in their home and their yard as a way of honoring his family. He relished sharing activities with Matthew and Sydney, fishing, camping, hockey, skiing, biking, and so much more. And though distance separated them, his heart had held vigilance for Courtney and her family. He was vigilant to his own sports and teams, whether it was broomball or mountain biking, rollerblading, playing tennis, hockey, rugby, ping pong, baseball, and more. There was a time when his dad was concerned that Ryan tended to quit his activities before he gave them a fair chance, but once Ryan found what he enjoyed, he took hold and held tight to it, as Merv learned when he finally saw Ryan playing hockey in Mississauga. And of course, Ryan was forever vigilant to the force. Partners is an understatement to the commitment these colleagues hold for each other, and today's display of your dedication to him is but a reflection of his to you. As we imagine the unimaginable, a world without Ryan in it, I encourage you to be forever vigilant to your fond memories of Ryan and the messages that lie within those memories. For in those memories are messages and inspirations to live by. He leaves those as your rocket fuel for journeying forward. When I asked his family what inspirations came to mind in that moment, Patsy immediately said his kids were his whole world. His dedication as a dad is an inspiration. And secondly, his lifelong dedication to law enforcement. She added that he believed in working hard for what you have and earning your way forward. And Nancy said he always made people feel better. These are just the tip of the mountain of inspirations that Ryan has left us. Find your passion and pour your heart into it wholeheartedly. Work hard, earn your way, and leave the world better than you found it. Ryan did that, and his life and memories stand as inspirations for us to do the same. Now his memories and inspirations are ours to have and to hold. May we be forever vigilant in carrying his legacy in our heart of hearts as we forge into the future. Let's bow in a prayer. Creator of all, in this moment of pause, we feel the enormity of our feelings. Gratitude for a man who gave his best and made a difference. Sadness that he's gone far sooner than we could ever have imagined. And bereft at the hole we feel in our hearts without him here. Carry us, I pray, as we enter into this new world without Ryan in it physically. Imprint in us those inspirations he's gifted us with through his living. Speak through us in gentle, compassionate ways, so we might support each other through this reality. And bless his precious family with the strong sense they're never alone as they journey forward. May the light of your purest love lead us from here and connect us forever with Ryan's spirit. We pray in the name of love. Amen. Well, friends, on Tuesday, the Regina Police Service entered their shifts with the news of Ryan's passing. And as is a tradition of the force, on Friday, the dispatcher gave the last call for Sergeant Ryan Ellingson. We're going to close this portion of the ceremony by hearing a recording of that last call, and then Piper Matt is going to pipe the family and the honorary pallbearers and Chief Bray and urn bearer Peter Funk to Ryan's final resting place in his parents' grave. I ask that you would stay seated and continue social distancing while we process and while we have the interment, and then I will return here for the final benediction. Friends, the last call.
XJF 46 to Car 1, Sergeant Ryan Ellingson. With the heaviest of hearts, we dispatch you to your final rest. Your spirit will live on amongst your RPS family. Your watch is now over. We'll take it from here. Car 1, 10-7, tour complete.